couple of years ago, the Bearded Ladies dropped a title called Mutant Year Zero. They're a small studio, and MYZ had little fanfare before its release, but the combination of stealth exploration and tactical turn-based gameplay made for a fantastic experience. The unique world, characters, and story helped flesh out the great gameplay structure, and it was one of my games of the year in 2018. Corruption 2029 is very much a spiritual sequel to Mutant Year Zero. In certain ways this benefits it, but in many ways it doesn't hold up to its predecessor. Corruption 2029 will mostly remind players of Mutant Year Zero with its gameplay. Corruption has players controlling a small squad of 3, roaming a dystopian countryside replete with broken down motels, gas stations, and military bases. As you explore these environments, players will find various notes, newspapers, and radios detailing the state of the world and giving out lore about the two primary factions vying for control. As enemies draw close, you can take your squad of 3 and begin placing them around using stealth in order to best lay out a plan of attack. Once combat begins, the gameplay does a complete shift to a more turn-based tactical combat that's familiar to anybody who's played any of the latest XCOM titles. 2 action points per turn, an action point for a reload. Even the cover system are based on the now tried and true formula XCOM has created. The favorable comparisons to Mutant Year Zero, however, start and end right there. Corruption 2029 has some fun battles, and using each new weapon and experimenting with augments is fun for the first couple of missions. The environmental destruction is great, and overall the game does look pretty nice. The problem quickly reveals itself as soon as you complete the first couple of missions in the game. Mutant Year Zero was based on the classic pen and paper RPG with the same name. It had some really unique characters, a compelling story, and so much character to all facets of the world design. In between missions, you had a nice hub to go visit with a bunch of characters you can talk to, you can shop, upgrade your gear. It was a complete experience that drew you into that universe. Corruption 2029 has none of that. The game starts pretty abruptly after a very short explanation of the two main rival factions in the storyline. The UPA, United Peoples of America, and the NAC, the New America Council. The squad you play as are from the UPA and are described as soldiers called units. Units are more mechanical than anything else and are thus remotely controlled from outside observers. The general premise of a second civil war and mechanized troops being controlled remotely has so much promise, especially with the way our country is this day and age. The problem with Corruption 2029 is that it never really tries to tell any interesting story with that premise. The game is comprised of 3 acts containing several missions each. It's not very long, and even in the short runtime you are forced to consistently backtrack to the same handful of areas repeatedly. The game also lacks any central hub, and the 3 characters you control basically feel like one person. Gone are almost all of the RPG mechanics from Mutant Year Zero. Instead, between missions you have access to a very simple loadout screen. Any augments, consumables, or weapons can be freely swapped out and used by any of your 3 squad members. This is a huge letdown, as the deeper RPG mechanics and the great characters in MYZ really helped carry that game and gave purpose to everything that was happening in between runs. With almost all of the story, deep character upgrade systems, and the hub world gone, all you're left with is mission design and gameplay. Sadly, the mission design doesn't really vary ever. Regardless of the objectives, every mission just boils down to getting some high ground and eliminating every enemy in the map, and once they're all defeated, you're free to hack computers, retrieve items, or whatever the objective is without much fuss. The combat also comes across as just okay. It can be visually satisfying, and when certain conditions line up, the augmented powers and weapons can be fun to use. The main issue are smaller in nature, but they all add up to a lot of frustration. Very basic elements such as line of sight, auto-targeting, grenade targeting, can all be very fussy when they shouldn't. Multiple times I've had squad mates just get stuck in objects and they remain there for the whole battle. Nothing has been game breaking by any means, but these little issues make the game feel rushed, as an overall lack of polish that Mutant Year Zero did not suffer from. I really don't like making these comparisons to another game so readily, but it's tough to ignore because the game makes these comparisons with every facet of its design. Even basic things such as the font, UI, and menu options are almost one-to-one. These similarities ultimately hurt Corruption 29 because they constantly remind you of a better experience that you could be playing in Mutant Year Zero. If it was allowed to have more of its own identity or took more risk with its gameplay and storyline, this could have been exceptional. Instead, at times, it feels like a proof of concept to what Mutant Year Zero would ultimately become. It's fun for the price, and if you really love Mutant Year Zero's gameplay, there is some fun to be had here. I give Corruption 2029 a 5.5. It's on the Epic Store for $19.99. I really don't think it's worth the price. I am bummed out. I love the Bearded Ladies. I think they make good stuff, and Mutant Year Zero, like I said, was the game of the year. So to see this game suffer from the problems it does, it hurts my heart, but alas, that's what it is. I hope everyone enjoyed this review. If you like it, make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more reviews this week. Have a good one. Stay safe, everybody.